Hello, everybody. State Senator Lynn DeSanto coming to you tonight to share with you a very important interview with somebody that a lot of people have been asking about regarding missing Serenity Denard. This is biological father Devin Green. Devin, I really appreciate you coming in and talking to me today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem.
So, Devin, let's kind of start back at the very beginning. I'm curious, how did you and Rihanna know each other?
We actually knew each other for quite some time. I grew up hanging out with her younger brother for quite a while before we had a kid, so we were best friends, I don't know, for like 8 years probably.
8 years, okay.
Yeah.
So you guys were dating, and Serenity was a surprise, and Serenity was planned. How would you?
Surprise.
A surprise. Okay, very good. So, what was Rihanna's pregnancy like? Was it normal or?
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, pretty normal. She was gestational diabetic, but other than that, pretty normal.
Okay. Very good. So do you remember when Serenity was born? Was she a big baby or a small baby, or do you remember?
Medium size. She was 18 inches, 7 pounds, 5.8 ounces. Born late at night. Pretty healthy. It was a 12-hour labor, just over 12 hours.
Okay.
Not too bad, so.
Yeah, okay.
But pretty healthy.
Yeah, very good. So she comes home from the hospital and you guys sort of settle into life. You guys are living together at this point, okay? And so tell me about once Serenity was home, was she a fussy baby? What was she like when she got home with you guys?
I was honestly kind of a rookie at the beginning, so Rihanna kind of showed me the ropes a little bit. She seemed kind of a little fussy, but not too bad. Pretty all-around good baby, I guess.
Okay. And was Serenity your first child, or you had other children?
My first.
Okay, so, and since then you have had other children, is that correct? Okay, so Serenity has how many half-siblings?
2.
2 half-siblings. Okay, very good. So Serenity was your first, so you didn't really know what to expect, so it all seemed normal because it was your first one. Okay, so at some point, Rihanna becomes incarcerated. Okay, so how old was Serenity when that happened?
She was about 6 months old. It was in November, so I mean 6, 7 months old.
Okay, so what was the agreement with you and Rihanna regarding where was Serenity going to be when she was incarcerated?
With me, and then out at her parents, her grandparents, Rihanna's parents, I guess.
Okay, so sort of a little bit of a family effort. You
were
going to have her
I mean,
sometimes.
I would have her the whole time, but I mean, help from grandparents and people that have had kids is always a plus.
Okay, very good. So were you at this point thinking that Rihanna would be gone not that long, or you were just trying to get by for a while? I mean, what were you anticipating?
Yeah, she was only supposed to be gone initially, I think, for like 9 months was the initial amount of time, I believe.
Okay, so you figured you would kind of get by with grandparents' help and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, and at that point I'd kind of, I don't know, I'd gotten the hang of it more so
Okay.
by then. So I mean, I wasn't necessarily a total greenhorn.
Okay. So then at some point you get in some trouble. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So can you share a little bit about what exactly happened and what did that mean for you?
So I got indicted for grand theft by receiving stolen property. Initially they had came to my house in New Underwood and arrested me. I went to jail, served a little bit of time, got out on a bond, was going through trial process, court processes.
Okay, and how long of a sentence did you receive from that?
So I ended up getting 5 years with 5 suspended, and I had to serve 90 days in the county jail, which I had already served part of that when I was initially arrested.
Okay, so while you were sitting that time, who was caring for Serenity at this time?
So at that time, it was my mother.
Okay.
And then John and Paula, Rihanna's parents, had come down and get her from New Underwood, back and forth. My dad and his girlfriend in New Underwood.
Okay. And were you talking to them regularly and kind of hearing how Serenity was doing?
Yeah. Again, it wasn't extremely long. I mean, it was about 2 months, 56 days, so it was really long in a sense, but not long at all.
Okay.
But yeah, on the phone with them, talking to whoever I could. I had them all added on a call list.
Okay. So tell me, having a child changes a person's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would you say that you were changed by having this baby girl?
It was a big change. Everything changed about the way I was. I played a lot of guitar, loud music, loud guitar amplifiers. That all changed very quickly. You can't have that when you have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was also a learning experience, a very big learning, and about something that I didn't really know much about kids, but it was fun, and I loved her.
Yes.
And I don't know, it just changed a lot in me as far as who I was and the way I thought about stuff, I guess.
Okay. So when you were incarcerated, I would assume that was difficult. You were apart from her, you were missing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Family got up to visit whenever they could. They'd bring her for visits, which I liked, but at the same time I didn't like that. I didn't want her to see me there, but at the same time I really missed her and I wanted to see her, so it's kind of one of them things.
So there are a lot of people in the public that have been of the opinion that you didn't care about her, or you were maybe selfish, thinking about yourself, not taking good care of your daughter. So would you say that that's a fair assessment of you as a young dad, or would you say no?
I maybe half fair. I mean, it's not that I was a total negligent, horrible parent or nothing. I mean, I was a young parent who made mistakes. No one's perfect. You can't be a perfect parent. I know that for a fact. There's no way. Everybody makes mistakes. But, I mean, you learn from them and move on. I did care for her very much. Any of my intermediate family, friends, relatives, they all know. They've all seen me around, seen me with her, seen us at holidays, get-togethers, at the park in New Underwood. I spent a lot of time with that little girl all over New Underwood, just cruising the streets.
Okay. So you're aware that people have talked about her having a reactive attachment disorder, meaning that not held a lot as a baby or not interacted well as a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember as a baby seeing things in her that maybe made you feel like she was having some issues with things like that, or?
So I did a little bit at one point. She was struggling in some development areas as far as like coordination as a 3-year-old would have. I went to, I cannot think of the building or the name. I was referred there by the WIC office. They sent me there. They said they can get her tested, and they said she was actually doing quite well. I thought that I was kind of starting to get nervous, but
okay.
She did actually come out pretty well. They said she just might be a slow learner. Might take her a little bit to start expressing the way she works.
Okay, so she was a little slow in her language development and things
A
like that. A little
bit.
Okay.
Some things were fast, some were slow.
Okay.
Some things she had down just to a T. So.
Do you believe that she was neglected and not held and not loved, and that was an issue at that time?
No, she was more than loved. She'd be held by everyone, loved by everyone. I mean, she'd go down to my brother's apartment just down the hall from my mom's just to go sit and hang out with him in his chair for a little bit and watch part of the game.
Okay.
So
there was a lot of family around, and you felt that there was a lot of attention, a lot of love,
yes,
and things like that.
There definitely was.
Very much so. Okay, so bring me to the time that, you find out how that the state is involved with Serenity.
So, I was actually serving the rest of my 90 days in the county jail. It was 36. My PO had said we didn't have to do it for a while. It kind of came up out of nowhere. It happened to be during the holidays and Christmas. I was pretty upset about it, but and I thought I had to do it anyway. So I went and did it. It was Christmas Day. I was actually in the county jail. We had just gotten out of lockdown, and I called my mom because I pretty much was on the phone all morning while she was cooking, watching Serenity. And I called her, and all I could hear was her screaming for bloody life. And
okay, your mom screaming or Serenity screaming?
Serenity.
Serenity screaming. Okay, in the background of the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Horrible. And I finally got sense and calmed into my mom trying to talk to her as what's going on, and then she tells me that DSS is there, they're taking Serenity, this is the lady's name, and I said, well, put her on the phone. And then she got on the phone, she told me who she was, Mary Vandenhimmel with Child Protection Services. She asked my name for the record. She asked me to basically identify Serenity was mine. She said, well, yeah, at this current moment in time, I'm taking your child into protective services.
Okay. And did she go into some of the reasons why? Did you understand why, or were you sort of not really
I
sure?
asked why, and she hung up.
Okay.
I spit out in between that I was calling from the jail. I didn't really get a lot of time to explain it to her, but yeah, I asked why, and it wasn't really an option.
Okay. So you hang up the phone, and then what do you think? What are your emotions at that time?
It was just a flood. I actually broke the phone I was on. I didn't hang it up. It was just a flood. I was panicking. I was in between leaving the jail. It was the work release side, so not that it's not secure, but I thought for a second maybe I should go. Maybe I could catch him. I'll just come back, but that's a bad idea. And one of the guards there informed me, he's like, don't, please don't.
Okay.
You're here for 36 days. Think about this.
Right. So at some point you get out,
Mm-hmm.
and then once you get out, are you able to see Serenity again and spend time with her?
Visits 1 hour a week.
1 hour a week. Okay. And these are supervised visits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So were you on the path at that point to get her back? Is that what you believed?
Yeah, I was working towards it. I had gotten out of jail, was working on getting into a place, going to court, doing all the court proceedings, starting the process with DSS, that sort of stuff.
Okay. So at some point you realized that she was not going to be coming back to you. Is that correct?
I thought about it. I thought it might happen, but I just kept trying to work for it, try to find a way that it would work.
Mm-hmm. So did you feel like Department of Social Services was trying to help you make it work, or what was it like working with them?
It was frustrating. I got very irritated with stuff. It felt one-sided. It's hard they tell you you're doing something wrong, and then they tell you to take a class, and then you go to a class to learn, but then when you go back for, assessment meeting later, they hold whatever you didn't do right against you, and it's how you're supposed to be helping me, not holding it against me, and it feels, I thought it was very irritating and one-sided at the time.
So I feel like you would do one thing, but then there'd be something else, and
Well,
then there's something else.
Well, not just that, but just they would take you to a class, but it would, like, they hold whatever you didn't do right in class against you, and I thought it was supposed to be more to help train you and teach you to be a better parent, the parenting classes, and they had a handful of them that I had to go to. A couple of them were communication classes, all sorts of stuff.
When you would see Serenity at those visits, what was she like with you when she would see you?
Happy, very happy. She did voice being upset a couple times that she wasn't at home, which was pretty bothersome. But other than that, really happy. We liked hanging out, having a blast, making the most of our hour. The last few minutes were always pretty rough, and she'd usually sometimes get kind of upset about that.
Upset meaning?
Start kind of getting angry because she's got to leave, because she'd want to stay and hang out. I mean, she'd want to go with her dad and go home, and yeah, there's someone there saying you can't, and I can't tell her that you have. It's just very frustrating.
Okay. So I assume at some point DSS said she's going to be placed for adoption with someone else, and you realized that she was not coming back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, how did you feel about that, and what did you do?
There wasn't really much I could do. Once they go to that option, they take it to the court. They have everyone in the court. They go through it with the judge, and I mean, you're there present. You get to make your case, I guess, with an attorney, but at that point, it's a recommendation from the state's attorney, the child's lawyer, and DSS, so they I mean, they're not going to go against the better interest of the child, as they would say. They're not going to do that. So,
And was Rihanna at that court hearing?
yes.
She was. So
Mhm.
both of you were there.
Legally, you have to be there.
Okay. So you guys had a chance to kind of give your side, then they gave their side, and then the judge ruled that it was time for Serenity to be put in state's care.
Yes.
Okay. So at that point, do you hear anything? Do you know anything once that happens?
What do you mean?
Do you know where she is? Do you know who has her? You know, what's the communication at that point?
None. After they put us up and did that, we had one final visit, except it wasn't an hour, it was 10 minutes, and they give you a little cue card of things you're supposed to say.
What are some of the examples? I mean, I'm trying to imagine you have 10 minutes. It's your last visit with your child. What do they say you should say on the cue card?
They basically tell you that to tell your child that it's okay to love someone else, to kind of not worry about you, and it's okay to, you know, you're going to have new parents, and in a much more kind of subtle way, but that's really how it is.
Okay. Describe for me the environment in that room. Was Rihanna there, or?
No, they did those visits separate. That was
Okay.
the other thing. They wouldn't let us do visits together.
Okay.
Even the last one, which we...
So Rihanna did one alone, and you did one alone. So
Mhm.
describe for when you were in that room. What is that like? You're supposed to say these things to your child.
It's the roughest, horrible thing you can go through. It's supervised. You're upset. You're trying not. I mean, you have 10 minutes, and it's counting. 9:58, 9:50. It's just going down, and time's clocked, and you're just. There's not enough things you can say in that 10 minutes to try and express how you feel, or to tell them anything. Tell them how much you love them, any part of it, and it's very frustrating and aggravating. As soon as it was done and they hauled her out, she was trying to talk to me for other stuff, but I just had to leave. I couldn't be in the room anymore.
Yeah.
I had to get out.
Devin, I'm hearing in you a lot of regrets. So if you could look back at everything that happened, what would you say that you feel the most regretful about?
I wish I'd have made better decisions.
Because if you had,
if I had, I may still have her. We wouldn't be in this position we're in now. I know I made some bad decisions, but I also know if I'd have just asked more people for help. One of the big reasons I couldn't get her back is because I was someone who just got out of jail with no housing history. Mm-hmm. They don't usually rent to people on felony probation that don't have housing history. And I mean, I didn't really ask anybody, but they want you to do it on your own. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing about DSS, and I tried, I just couldn't do it.
Okay. So coming to more current times. So you're at that point, she's sort of out of your life. You don't really know what's happening. You don't know who has her, those things. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. At some point, my understanding is some of your relatives connected with the adopted mom and dad.
So, yeah, later on, they are given a list of family, and it's up to the adoptive parents to contact whom they want to, if they choose to, and remove said contact if they please. So, and they did start kind of feeling people out in my family. My dad, his girlfriend, I believe Darcy, and my sister are pretty good friends on Facebook.
Okay. So Serenity's adopted family actually connects with your biological family, and they see Serenity. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think they've seen him a couple times. I know
Okay.
they had been down there and visited, and I believe one of them was a Halloween party.
Okay. Did they describe to you how she was doing? Did they tell you when they would see her, would they say anything?
Honestly, I mean, they did tell me, but by the time I had, talked to them after it had happened, a long time had passed, but of course, all details, spare none. They informed me and told me she was good, she was super thin blonde hair, like a green bean tall.
Okay.
Super skinny, so that was good.
Okay. How did you come to find out that she was missing?
So it was Super Bowl Sunday. I was putting together a dresser because the game was just not worth watching, in my opinion. and I don't remember if I seen it on the news or if it was I'd stopped to Facebook for a
Okay.
second, and I just happened to look on there and seen this thing about a kid, and I was like, what? And just looked, and then I knew right away. I was like, that's Serenity. And then as soon as they said her name, I was like, Serenity Dinner. And I was like, well, they did change her name, so I was like, well, it's got to be her. I mean, look at her face. That's her. That's definitely her.
So you didn't recognize the last name right away, so it took you a second.
It took me, and I just had to double look and kind of give it my eyeball over, and then once I seen her nose and stuff, it's a dead giveaway.
Well, a lot of people comment that she looks like you, so you kind of see yourself a little bit. In her face.
I mean, you just kind of got to do that around the nose, look at the nose a little bit, and it.
Yes, you knew that was your daughter.
Dead giveaway. Yeah.
What did you do then? Oh my goodness, my biological daughter is missing. Then what?
I started panicking. I started freaking out. I was on Facebook. I was on the news. I was trying to talk to people, call people, find out what the hell was going on. Once I found out what was going on, they had said that, she took off from the children's home. I mean, I sat in about a panic for about 20 minutes, kind of trying to gather myself, figure it out. And then it just hit me. I was like, you got to go up there. You got to go look. So I drove straight up there.
Okay, so yet that night.
Yes.
You drove up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you walk in the door of the children's home, or?
No, we walked up to the mobile command center.
Okay.
They had set up there. An officer greeted us on the spot. They were kind of out and about.
Mm-hmm.
He said that, at that time, they kind of weren't out. It was really cold. It was night at this point, obviously. He said they didn't have really any, I guess they weren't accepting volunteers.
You were wanting to volunteer.
Yeah, he said maybe try back tomorrow. He thought I was probably a little crazy standing out there and the way it was, but I said okay, so I just kind of left that point. And then I drove up and down the road looking, just searching around anywhere I could think of where, I mean, it's really hard to think. Everyone's trying to think where would a 9-year-old go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So did the police ever question you or investigate you?
They did. One of the investigators for the Pennington County Sheriff's Department did show up at my work. And it was about a week, maybe 10 days after it happened, he showed up. Asked to talk to me for a little bit, which was fine. We spoke for about 20-25 minutes.
Okay.
He said he was just kind of ruling it out. It was part of the investigation. They have to do it. He asked if he could go to my house. I said, yeah, sure, fine. Do you want my house key? Or, I mean, whatever needs to happen. And then he went, searched my house, went through the garage, all this stuff they do, and
okay.
Left me his card, told me to call if I heard anything or call if I want an update.
Okay. So do you know if they executed searches on other houses? They searched your house. Did they say we're searching other houses? We're talking to other people as well?
I know he said they've been interviewing a lot of people. They are checking up on leads in a couple places. I don't know. He didn't really get into details, but he did say that they were checking into a couple other places, couple addresses. I do know he went and spoke with my mom and checked her house. I kind of anticipated that for anyone.
Sure. Do you believe that it's possible that a family member is involved in her disappearance?
Not any of mine. I know that for sure. None of mine are. I don't think anyone else is. Who the hell is gonna abduct a little 9-year-old girl? I mean,
okay.
Who in their right mind would abduct their family member like that?
Okay. So to you, it doesn't make sense. So
No.
you can say definitively with your family, no way, absolutely not.
No one.
Okay.
I would beat them.
Okay, you can't say definitively about other people, but you don't think so. Is that inaccurate?
I really strongly feel that I don't. It's no one. Darcy, Brian. I don't.
Okay.
It just doesn't seem feasible, and I strongly feel that that's not the case.
Okay. So what have you been doing? It's been almost 2 months now that she's been missing. What have you been doing in the last 2 months related to her being missing?
Watching the news, trying to stay updated, following, doing what we can.
Have you been back to Children's Home, or have you been back up to do any other searching or anything like that?
I actually searched Sunday, the night she went missing. Then I went back up Monday. I went back up Tuesday night, I believe. Yeah, Tuesday night, after I got off work, because I had to go to work and kind of, I mean, you can't just totally leave. But yeah, I did go back up.
So you were searching basically as much as you could.
Yeah, but also trying to stay out of the way of search and rescue and everybody's, their way. But yes, definitely searching.
Okay. So what is your gut instinct about Serenity? Do you believe she's alive or not?
Yes, she has to be. You can't. She disappeared. Literally, like, it was like she walked off the cattle guard and just disappeared. And without anyone finding anything that says she's got to be somewhere, she has to be.
If she has been taken against her will, let's say she's been abducted by someone, how do you think she would react based on her personality? I mean, what is she mentally going through in that situation, do you think?
Probably fear, panic, probably angry, which in that moment might be a plus thing, I think. That kid has a temper.
I've heard her described as strong-willed and
very strong-willed.
Kind of determined, so if
strong-willed, determined, never gives up, always, and very, very smart, and a little thinker that can just sit back and look at something and figure it out.
Okay. What would you say to Serenity? Let's say that she's listening to this, she's watching this right now. What would you want to say to your daughter?
I love you. I miss you. I'm sorry that I made some mistakes to cause all this. But there's a lot of people, that want you home now. And a lot of people that are willing to fight, including me, everyone, all of your family. And we just hope that you're okay and safe.
Very good. Well, thank you, Devin, for coming in and chatting with me. I would like to encourage people, if you've not done so yet, to please go to change.org and look for the Serenity Alert. We are still gathering signatures for that petition to institute a Serenity Alert in South Dakota so that children can be made aware of children when they are missing more quickly, which I think would be very beneficial to the public. So thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful, and continue to watch for Serenity.